Hi everyone, it's Justine and today I've got a new drawing tutorial for you. I will show you how to draw a regular jersey, how to draw a cable knit sweater, how to draw ribbing, and how to draw intarsia. I'll be using 4 combinations of color markers and color pencils. First, the regular jersey. For this I use aqua green and a green pencil. The woven fabric would be made of 2 threads crossing at a 90 degrees angle. A knitted fabric is made of just 1 thread that builds a ton of little loops. So we want to show that in our drawings. First, I lay down the base color, which should be clearer than the color of my fabric in the end. I let it dry just a little bit and then I go in with my color pencil. I build little construction lines and I start building little loops. It looks like little hearts of my yarn, looping and looping. And that would be my first line, and the second line will come right next to the first one. That's the first method. The second method goes faster. I just draw the little loops. When you draw knitted fabrics, don't spend too much time on detailing, because you'll see when you shade later that the details tend to disappear under the darker color, no matter which method you're using. One way to prevent the little details from disappearing when you shade is to use black ink instead of my green color pencil. To draw the cable knit, 1 color marker, a darker brown and a black. First, the base color with the clearer brown. I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing cable knits. There are plenty of possible patterns. The first one is made of curved little tubes. Imagine it's in 3D. They alternate until the bottom of my swatch. Notice the little holes in between. To shade, I make the little holes darker. It brings in the 3D, so to say. I can also shade on the sides to accentuate the relief effect. And normally, next to a braid like this, you won't have a second one, you'll have a space. So I can shade that in a darker color. I'll show you a second way of shading on the same kind of braided knit. Here I use black. If you can see the difference, the relief is even increased compared to the first braid. Here's very quickly to show you a different kind of cable knit. Instead of using curved little tubes, here I'm using little S shapes. They alternate just the same way, but they have a different shape to start with. Here the spaces in between are smaller, so I might as well directly take my black pencil to make sure the contrast is enough. I shade on the sides. And I will typically also leave space between this range and the next one. Next one, the ribbing that you often have on the sleeves and at the hem. The marker will be my basis color. And here I really need to build some small construction lines to keep the count. Each line is 1 line. Typical ribbing types include 1 by 1 ribbing, 2 by 2, or 2 by 1. Let me explain. I'm going to show you all 3. In the first type, you have 1 line where something happens and you leave the next one blank. 1 line where something happens and you'll leave the next one blank. So it's alternating perfectly. The second type, here I can go more detailed. Those are 2 lines and I leave 2 lines free. The free line can be shaded darker, or I can go very quickly with little hearts as well. Then I have to leave 2 lines free. Here I'm just filling in darker. Then come again 2 lines of little hearts, and so on. That's a 2 by 2. And then a 2 by 1, I typically do it again with lines to not go too detailed. And here the darker line is double the width of the space in between. So those are 3 different types of ribbing. You're free to choose any combination you like. Next one, the intarsia pattern. That's something knitting machines can do, but the lines will never be very sharp, so we need to represent that when drawing it. First, I prepare the shape of my contrasted color. I fill in. Then I fill around it with the other color, and then I draw mini hearts like on the other knitted patterns in pencil. That takes forever, so let me show you this and then I show you a quicker way. In my contrast color, I fill and pay attention to not have precise lines, because knitting would not be a sharp line. So it really looks handmade. That's the difference between knit and a print. Here's the quicker method though. I just draw lines. Here, what matters is to make sure that the red steps onto the yellow and vice versa. This way it looks handmade too, but you save a lot of time. That's it. Quick run through so that you can see the details again. Feel free to pause here. And now, if you haven't seen my previous drawing video on the main types of woven fabrics, I suggest you do that right now if you have time, or subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back soon with a new video. Take care. Bye!